We will also not sit down and look and watch them destroy us or our party. The more they poach into us, we will also put sand in their garden.
That's the game you're playing. I like that.
Poached senior members of our party. They poached El-Rufai from us. They poached Malami from us. They poached Amaechi from us. They poached so many other people from us. Should we just sit by? So politically speaking, we are doing things in a political manner to also harm them, politically speaking.
Mr. Farouk,
so whatever also they do,
it's fair game.
That's their business. But if
Mr. Farouk,
I mean, I also am not happy with what INEC did, honestly.
Mr. Farouk, it's fair game. I'm happy. You said they poached El-Rufai from you. Yes. They didn't poach El-Rufai from you. You failed.
They poached.
No, wait. Just wait a minute. You failed to meet him with the agreement you gave him. You put him on a ministerial list. Then there was a rigmarole. He wasn't confirmed as minister. You let him out in the cold. You betrayed him for your own sake. And a woman left out in the cold will wink at another man. They didn't poach El-Rufai from you. Did you settle whatever you had with Malami properly? And even these two people, all of a sudden, in the last 3 years, their corruption cases and allegations against them never came up. Once you saw that they were frolicking with the ADC, those two people.
Let's talk about what really happened on our Rise TV morning show, because that statement is not something to ignore. An APC spokesman came on live television and said, they took El-Rufai, they took Amaechi, they took Malami, and you expect us not to put sand in their garri? At first, some people laughed. Some people treated it like normal political talk. But if you sit down and think about it, that statement is loaded. In Nigerian language, put sand in their garri is not a joke. It means frustration. It means resistance. It means you will not allow the other side to operate smoothly. It suggests that something will be done in response. So the real issue is not just what was said, but what it reveals about the current political atmosphere in Nigeria. Let's break it down slowly. When you hear names like Nasir El-Rufai, Rotimi Amaechi, and Abubakar Malami, you're talking about heavyweight politicians. These are not minor players. These are people who have held power, influenced decisions, and shaped political directions in Nigeria. So when someone says they took them from us, it immediately creates a certain narrative. It sounds like these individuals are being removed from a political camp, either by force, by pressure, or by strategy. And that is where the controversy begins, because Nigerians will start asking questions that don't have simple answers. Who exactly took them? What does took really mean here? Is it about political defection? Is it about legal issues? Is it about internal party problems? Or is it something deeper that the public does not fully understand here? This is why that statement is spreading. It is not just emotional. It is suggestive. It leaves room for interpretation. In Nigeria, once people start interpreting political statements, different narratives begin to form. Now let's look at the bigger picture. This statement tells you one thing very clearly. There is tension, real tension. Not the kind of tension you see on social media, but the kind that exists within political structures. Because when politicians begin to speak this way on national television, it means something is happening behind the scenes. Politics in Nigeria has always involved rivalry, but what we are seeing now feels more intense. It feels more personal. It feels like groups are positioning themselves strongly, possibly ahead of future political battles. And when that happens, the language changes. Instead of calm, controlled communication, you start hearing emotional expressions, statements that sound like warnings, statements that sound like frustration. That is exactly what this sounded like. Now let's look at another angle. When an APC spokesman says they took them from us, it creates the impression that these individuals belong to a group and that their current situation is being interpreted politically. This is important because it affects how citizens view institutions. If a politician is facing a legal issue, people expect it to be handled based on law. But when political language enters the conversation, it starts to blur the line. People begin to ask whether decisions are purely legal or whether there is political influence involved. Even if everything is being done correctly, perception can change everything. And in Nigeria, perception is powerful. Once people start believing that things are politically motivated, trust begins to drop. That is the danger in statements like this. Now let's also be fair. From the perspective of the APC spokesman, this could simply be an expression of frustration. It could be a reaction to what they see as political pressure or loss of influence. Politics is competitive. Nobody wants to lose ground. So reactions like this are not entirely surprising. But again, the way things are said matters. Because Nigerians are not just listening. They are interpreting, they are connecting dots. They are comparing with past events. And that is why reactions are mixed. Some people see this as normal political talk. They believe it is just part of the game. Others see it as a sign that something deeper is wrong within the system. Now let's bring it closer to everyday Nigerians. The average Nigerian is not sitting down thinking about party strategy. The average Nigerian is thinking about food prices, transport, electricity, security. So when they hear political leaders speaking in this kind of tone, it creates a disconnect. It feels like while citizens are dealing with real-life challenges, politicians are focused on power struggles. That perception matters because leadership is not just about decisions. It is also about how those decisions and attitudes are communicated. If the tone coming from political figures sounds aggressive or confrontational, it affects how people feel about governance. Another important point here is what this means for the future. If political conversations continue in this direction, where every move is seen as a battle and every action requires a response, then cooperation becomes difficult. And without cooperation, governance suffers. Because at the end of the day, no country develops through constant political tension. There has to be a level of stability, a level of understanding, even among rivals. Now let's go back to that statement one more time. They took El-Rufai, they took Amaechi, they took Malami. That is a very strong way to describe a situation. It simplifies complex political realities into a single narrative of loss and reaction. And that is why it is effective. It is simple, emotional, and easy to spread. But the problem with simple narratives is that they can hide complex truths. And that is where Nigerians need to be careful. Because not everything is as straightforward as it sounds. Sometimes there are legal issues. Sometimes there are internal political dynamics. Sometimes there are strategic decisions being made behind closed doors. So instead of jumping to conclusions, it is important to ask deeper questions. What exactly is happening? What are the facts? What is being said publicly versus what is happening privately? Those are the questions that matter. At the same time, political leaders also need to understand that their words carry weight. A single statement can shape public opinion. It can create tension. It can influence how people see the system. That is why communication is important. Not just what is said, but how it is said. Because in a country like Nigeria, where trust in institutions is already fragile, every word matters. So in the end, this is not just about one statement on television. It is about what that statement represents. It represents political tension. It represents frustration. It represents competition for influence. And most importantly, it reflects how politics is currently being played in Nigeria. So the question now is simple. Is this just normal political language that we should ignore? Or is it a sign that something deeper is happening within the system? I want to hear your honest opinion. When you heard that statement, did you see it as normal political talk? Or did it raise concerns for you? Let's have a real conversation in the comments.